stuff on the table. Okay, we're gonna forego the business meeting till after our speaker's presentation, and our speaker tonight is Logan Dovalina. Did I say it right? Dovalina. Dovalina, thank you. I should have practiced it before, right? And he was class of 21, so come on up and entertain us. Yes, give him a hand for.
Righty, how is everyone? Good. I have to say, last week, I had a nightmare that I was here and all of a sudden my car's on fire. And then I go outside and then I come back in and everyone's gone. So luckily that it was just a nightmare and that this is really real. And I'm really happy to share the work which I've done over these years. Do we have the, yeah. Okay, great, awesome. So sorry. I'll see that first. Let's see. I can click in. Okay. There we go. So my work focused on lepidoptery. And so let's go back about 5 years ago. So So first, I got my bachelor's and my master's in integrative studies. I kind of created my school in a sense. I am a historic guy. I like history. I majored in music as well. So just a little bit, more with me. Let me see here.
I'll just share it online.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And I think this clicker is not quite working again. This is the mouse. Okay.
Maybe run out of battery. Think I forgot to turn it off.
Not a problem. Let's see here. All right. So let's go back about 5 years. So with the wall in, when that was sort of happening at its height in 2018, I was in high school. And at that time, a lot of the national talk was on the wall itself and what it meant, but no one was really considering about the ecological impacts of that. So while it's massive and it impacts the entire border, I decided to focus on mission and lepidoptery in the area. So my work was to bring up this sort of factor, right? So no one had known about the ecological and the socio context in which it had been happening. So, and I was influenced by a book called Border Wall as Architecture by Ronald Rael, and he's doing great work. This is some of his work in that sort of, in his book. And what he does is that he creates really unique visions of the wall impacting people, the environment, native plants, water. So it's really unique ideas. And this is a wildlife corridor where you can, I guess, walk and where, I guess, it's accessible for like an ocelot, right? So that's his work. And then this is another one which he did where the wall becomes a seesaw. And so you have kids on the US side and a whole bunch of others on the Mexico side. And this one was actually created in a couple years ago. So he's done really great work. And this is, I believe, in Arizona, El Paso area, around that, not anywhere near here, maybe even California. So I used his work in creating a reimagined architectural model of what the National Center looks like. So it's a little bit hard to see, but if you look back in that area, that black wall is a fence. What you do is that you have these towers. You can go ahead and scale these, and these towers essentially have plants circled all around them. So you have, lantana, mist flower, anything that you can fit on there, it's there. And so what you can do is that you can overlook it. So essentially what this is that this is a reimagined concept of the first 30 acres, and what's blocked out is the back 70. So, and then, let me go ahead and just click. What you have as well is, I don't know if you've been in Mission, but Mission has these butterfly sculptures. And what you do is that you walk along this path, and this path tells the story of the valley in terms of its ecological history. And once you get to the very end, you come over with the wall and how you can scale it. So it shows you the ecological history of the valley in terms of, this is just another model of the visitor center. So flash forward to 2 years, I was in college and I got another sort of research project. And this research project was a bit different. I had already kind of created that model, but I decided to focus on the count. And the count had been neglected for, I want to say 5 or 6 years before this count. So, you know, I was the one to start it essentially. And I don't know if y'all can see, but I'm sure that some of y'all are in this. We had some Master Naturalists out here. We had some Boy Scouts, and a little bit about that count. We had 70 species, about 2,800 individual butterflies, 15 peoples, and a total of 16 hours and 5 miles walked with those involved. So we saw 31 of the Mexican blue wings. We saw 152 queens. And the Celia's roadside skipper, we actually, I don't know if y'all knew this, we set a US record with this species. 106 counted, which was the highest that the US had ever seen. And this is a unique one. So this species, this emperor, so there was 1,382 reported, and this is the only really clear hypothesis or solution which I saw in the data. So if you look at this, the Tawny Emperor's host plant tree is the hackberry. And if you go back to the Butterfly Center in 2000, it's established, meaning that the hackberry trail, which they have there, is pretty small. There's just little tiny seedlings, right? It's not as developed as it is now. Hence the reason why, if you look at 2004, there's only a very few ones seen, but by the time that you get to 2021, there's almost 1,400. So it shows the importance of planting the right, you know, species in order to attract certain other species, right? So that was a very unique correlation to see. And this is what the data looked like. I have another one to kind of explain a little bit more. But you'll see roughly with the species on the left, it usually stays the same. The ones in 2010, 2013, and then 2021, they roughly are about 70 species. But by the frequency of individuals, it really spikes in 2013 and then drops by 2021. And in terms of the years are very, very odd. So there's not a very clear, usual yearly count done. This is kind of a sporadic count. So it's hard to really find patterns. But as I mentioned, you know, in 2013, in terms of butterflies that we had almost 5,000. By 2021 is about half, about 2,800 counted. So these just is a little bit more in terms of the upward trends. So about 2 out of the 6 swallowtails had an upward increase from 2013. 1 out of the 7 whites and sulfurs, with the whites, yellows, and sulfurs. Half of the hair streaks, 0 out of the blues, 10 out of the 22 brushfoot, and then 4 out of the 4 metalmark, 2 out of the 3 milkweed, and then just a few others. So we had about 33 species out of the 70 counted had an upward increase in terms of actual 1C. So, you know, this came at a time when the freeze that just happened, you know, we have to also measure habitat loss. So it's kind of mixed data, right? It's kind of, you know, you kind of go, oh, this is not too great, but there's also positives in there as well. So with that in mind, what I did that following October was I'd created seed bombs, and very kind of easy to do, to get dirt, put seeds in it, mix it up and throw them out. But that came with the knowledge of the data, going, what are the plants, what are the species that need to be put in the ground to ensure that we can have increases of these species in years to come. And it was nice because I got to meet people who didn't know about the work and kind of explained it. It's kind of like, this is what's been happening. And it was great. I had a really great time. So this was the second count done. This was in January of 2022. And then this was just a secondary count. I think some of y'all are in this picture. We had 70 species, 1,381 individuals counted, and 16 participants and 16 miles, 6 miles walked. We had 123 of the little yellows. The Rio Grande blue had 154. The zebra heliconian had 29. And then the clouded skipper had 117. So while this count was just a added count, it didn't really, just was another year just to kind of measure in. So there wasn't anything really significant with that. So skip forward 2 years later, I decided to establish a butterfly garden at my university, so at UNT. And I'll kind of explain a little bit about this. This came with all of what I've shared in mind, all of it, from the model to the counts to with people. I decided that it was important for my campus group to have butterflies in the campus experience. And so I decided to kind of create this garden and, you know, to kind of have new species seen, to increase the plant richness in a sense. And what it basically was that I wanted to redefine campus spaces. So this garden, which you'll see is along the side of this building. And it's a massive, it was really crazy. So this was actually funded by the UNT Campus USA. This was funded $1,000 in 2021, and that was an experimental sort of phase. And I want to say that I was like the only one. I mean, I had to contact and, you know, all these people and go through the bureaucracy of a university and really understand what it meant to work with people towards a project. So this was funded with $1,000 in terms of its initial phases. And then I decided to create a plan to establish a formal butterfly garden. And it was approved. It got about $6,000, and that was sequestered up until August of 2027. So it ensured that my work would continue way beyond me, and it would establish a new campus space. And luckily, I have help. So UNT Grounds helps in terms of the maintenance, irrigation, and then the support. And then all the plants are native and local. There's actually a native nursery that's nearby UNT that I worked with for all those years. And it was a Monarch Way Station in 2022 and was a milkweed grant by Monarch Watch in spring of that year as well. So this is more of that space, and you'll kind of see, if you look back on that second above picture, it extends all the way back towards the end of that building, all the way back. It's one of the largest butterfly gardens in the region. So during that time, from fall of 2021 to spring of 23, we had about 100 volunteers, 300 volunteer hours, over 200 plants planted. We had various groups come out there. I will tell you that it was exceedingly difficult to understand winter. I had never experienced a winter where plants die and you have to think about replanting, because here, you know, it freezes, right? But sometimes it's just, you know, that once you turn it back, it's going to come back up. It's dead. And I need to go back and figure out what I'm going to do, because it does not look good. So a lot of it was sort of a trial and error that I was doing by myself. And I wanted to kind of explain here. So on the bottom picture, this garden is in the center of the school. This is not on some sort of business side of the building or on the music side. This is in the center of the school. So I would be kind of embarrassed when I had a milkweed that was just completely dried up and just did not look great. So a little, but it was a really great time. So the goals and the visions for this sort of place was to increase the student engagement with workshops and sort of plans for that, and to conduct have environmental sort of tests. And the really big thing was having students of all disciplines, whether if you're an engineering major, a art history major, music major, for example, to be welcomed in the space and to know that your efforts matter and that you have a say in how the campus is redefined. And so that was a really important part, because I knew that the people that were there would have a sense of autonomy going, I planted that plant. So, and also, having the importance of pollinators, native landscapes, and ensuring that these spaces are accessible to a university populace was really important as well. This is the signage that I created from this. Now, I didn't put it together. I worked with an artist and did that, but this is the sort of kind of what I did with that. So, basically host plants, we have our native plants, nectar plants, and I kind of kept it very, very simple. If somebody is reading, what is a host plant? Or, what are native plants? And kind of explaining to it in a very simple way was really key to showing that these spaces are, accessible. Because a lot of people go, I don't know what this is. This is for a STEM major. This is not for me. So my whole sort of project was to bring back a sort of accessibility for everyone involved. And it was nice because I got to sort of incorporate my own pictures. That monarch up on the top, I always say, it was a monarch that was, unfortunately nearing the end of its life cycle. And it was on my patio, and, I think it probably passed away that next day, or, that day, but it is immortalized on that signage. It'll be there forever. So, and then I did this work here in the valley as well. So, long story, but my parents in 2007 worked with the city of Mission and the Sherry Golf Course and other neighbors to create a butterfly garden. And I don't know if I have a picture of that. I probably do, but if I don't, it's just a very small space, and we have some milkweed in there. But then I got a grant that following year and got some friends and some neighbors to bring back that idea that I did at UNT back in Mission. And here are my final sort of lessons, in a sense, is that butterfly gardens should not be viewed as specialty gardens, but as essential gardens. A lot of people go, I want to, put butterflies, and, it's always great, but, they kind of see it as a very sort of fluffy or sort of a specialty, right? Where, milkweed should be put wherever, it's not just a specialty garden. It should be what you should always realize. And we live in such a unique area where there's zebra heliconians. I mean, where else? There's very, very few places that have the uniqueness of what we have. And this is just a very common native plants work. I mean, that should be a bumper sticker. You should put that on your car. But really, truly, these plants that we have really, really work towards the function and the beauty of the places that we call home. And that to me is really, really important. So since then, I haven't really done a lot of, work in terms of these projects. All of them have been left in great hands. The only sort of thing that's beyond that is we're hoping to do a sculpture of some sort of awning at the flower patch, because there's a sidewalk that's in the center of it, and to put some sort of sculpture awning, to put milkweed, to put, oh gosh, what's that, flowering vine? Yes, yeah. So to put that just all over it, so we have just a whole bunch of, unique species when students can, walk through. So that's sort of a future project that we have in mind. But yes, I'm happy to be here and to share what I've sort of worked on in the past 5 years now. And I wanted to open up to any, questions or whatnot. Yes.
I'm curious about the grants that you received. Is that something that you share a little bit more about? Is it open to like community gardens, or does it have to be like certain criteria?
Yeah, so the one at UNT was a UNT focused, so, there wasn't much room for that. The other one, the one with the Sherry Heights, let me go back to that one. This one, was actually one from the Native Plant Society, which was the Bring Back the Monarchs. Now here's the only catch for this one, is that it has to be on public property. So, it can't be your backyard. But we were able to do this because it was on city property, it was on a golf course, essentially. So that was sort of that's the only sort of restriction, is that it's pretty accessible to do. You just have to have a very clear, concise plan, the future, who's gonna maintain this space. And as long as it's public property, it should be fine. Yeah. Yes.
What size is the garden? You had quite a few volunteers. And then the secondary question would be, are there other butterfly gardens in the area, Dallas, for more dedicated butterfly gardens?
Yeah, in terms of the space, I'm forgetting the exact dimensions. But what would be a good, imagine like a big box store. If you go to like a Target or a Walmart, the length of a big box store. It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. It's not very wide, but it's long. And so it's been a few years. I don't remember the exact dimensions, but it's very long. In terms of the other areas there, the Texas Women's University has a butterfly garden, which was established. And I got to visit it. It's smaller, but it's definitely rich, and there's a lot in there. And it's older, so there's a lot more sort of time that's been in there. There are other, I believe not the Dallas Arboretum, but there's this North Texas Discovery Center, but it's more of a cultivated sort of dome where there's butterflies floating around like ones in Houston. So in terms of similars, there's not very many that are dedicated to butterflies. Yeah.
And I guess what I was wondering about, you had mentioned some of the plants had died because of the really cold weather. Were there any plants at the other butterfly gardens that maybe you went, okay, that one works, that one doesn't, in other words?
Yeah. Yeah, I did, and unfortunately, it was sort of a really hectic time in terms of visiting, but I remember getting help from the native plant nursery. Those members there were really, they're like, Logan, here's what you need. This is what you really need. They're like, you can buy XYZ, but X and Y are gonna die within 2 weeks. Z is gonna work. And so there was a sort of an overabundance of, for example, Z in there. What I also did, which was really helpful, was that all of the flowering plants, all the things that looked pretty, were at the very front. Everything was put in the very front. And everything that was like a host plant, which could be eaten or, little risky, went in the way back. So because I didn't want to have anybody going, this looks unkempt and this does not represent the values of a higher education institution. So I was very, very cautious in terms of, yeah.
Logan,
When someone asks you a question, could you repeat it before you answer it so the people that are at home listening in, they might not be able to hear the question, but if you repeat it, because you got the mic. Oh, sure, absolutely.
Do you have other organizations that are taking care of the garden, or how is it being taken care of?
Sure. So the question was, do we have any sort of other organizations that are helping out? Luckily, we do. UNT has some great organizations. So the We Mean Green Fund is a campus runs fund where people can, create projects. That is a really strong organization. There's another one, there's a biology club which does great work, and there's lots of them in there. Then the grounds team is fantastic. I mean, without them, I would have just felt hopeless and gone, this is not going to work, because somebody can mow in here and destroy what I'm doing. So having the essential and clear communication with them was actually great. And the last thing, which I didn't quite say, is that what there are pollinative patches. Is that in the area, there's about 5 other little tiny gardens that were created 10, 15 years ago, but they all are a little bit different. This one is devoted specifically to Lepidoptera. So, yeah.
Do you have like drip irrigation or sprinklers? How is it watered?
It's watered through sprinklers, yes. So, yeah, in terms of what she asked, it was, how is it watered? And that was mainly through sprinklers, yeah. And it's been quite a while since I've been back. I left about a year ago. So it's all, it's been quite a while. So, yeah. Yeah, yes, sir.
So could you speak to kind of the groundwork that you had to lay before you even got the approval to put it in?
Yeah, so establishing this sort of project requires a lot of campus bureaucracy. Understanding the sort of systems and the modes in play and who determines what is really important in establishing this sort of project. I had to work with facilities to establish the spaces. I had to work with the We Mean Green Fund to establish what this looks like in the future. Working with the student division of affairs is another big one about how this looks like for students moving forward in terms of how that they can be involved. What else? And then little things, I had to do the catering for the event. So dealing with, picking what's going to be a vegetarian and what's going to be a vegan sandwich, and working with those different organizations all towards one goal, all of it, so yes.
I'm wondering if you worked with any academic units to provide like curriculum around the garden.
That's a very important thing. Let me go back really quick. So that was one of my goals, and that hasn't been accomplished yet. Yes. So
The dean on your side.
yes. So we don't currently have any sort of curriculum associated with that. It's still a very new space. We got this put in, I want to say about 6 weeks ago. So it's still and the signage, I will say, was the most tricky part out of everything else. I could put plants in the ground like nothing, but the signage, the signage took almost as long as the whole garden took, longer, because it was all about getting the right language, getting the right design, getting through the right people, getting through ultimately the design review board, which happens twice a year, and waiting for that and not knowing if it's going to work, not knowing if they're going to say no. What do you do? So this part gave me the most headache out of it all. And you'd imagine that it'd be kind of the plants, but it was this sign that took me about 2.5 years. And how big it was about 24 by 36. It was a pretty big one, which you'd see like at Benson or any other state park around here. I could sort of managed it sort of in like that, So any other questions? Yes.
You started your presentation with a couple of slides with the National Butterfly Center.
you apparently, presented some ideas for more stylistic type of butterfly garden display. Has any of that fallen on fertile ground?
So, yes and no. So how do I explain this? In terms of that vision moving forward or having ground, that model is actually housed at the National Center's exhibit. So if you ever are there, and if you look on the right-hand side, it's there. So if you wanted to go see it. I don't know. That's a very good question because the board wall hasn't been built in that area. And that requires, I mean, it's way beyond my pay grade. I gave them the idea. I gave them, here's an idea on what this place could look like. But on whether if they take that idea seriously and input thousands of dollars into that, I don't know. Probably not. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Do you have any comparison on numbers since the freeze level? Or you weren't involved in those?
I wasn't involved in those, no. So it's been a while since I've done any sort of numbers in terms of the counts. That's been a couple years now. I don't know. That's a pretty good. I've focused mainly on this because I was in school. Yeah.
If anybody can continue the counts there?
I believe so. But I haven't talked to the director in a while and she hasn't given me any sort of updates on that. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
Can butterflies be genetically modified to fly at 8 feet? Constantly working and trying to, I keep running into it.
I think about the same thing. I'm like, oh, here comes a group of, oh my goodness, the snouts. Thank you. Running into snouts. We all have that sense of guilt. It's like, oh, here come a cloud of snouts. I'm about to, oh gosh, yes. But I wish I could. Yeah.
Any of the gardens that you refer to have benches or places for people just to sit and reflect, or is it more of a walk?
So in terms of benches and walkthroughs, there is a main walkthrough in the garden, which was created because there was nothing there. So there's a walkthrough. In the butterfly flower patch, there is also a bench, but this is on let me see if I can pull it up here. Right along the left side of this picture, on that sidewalk, you'll see in the back, there's a bench in that very corner. There's another one just right there, but it doesn't face the butterfly garden. It faces away from it. So yes and no. But I've thought about it all, about more walkways, about, and there was only so much which I could do before grounds I'd be in trouble with grounds going, you're going way too far. You just need to put some plants in the ground and water them and that's it, but yes and no. So yes.
General feedback from students and faculty.
So in terms of the feedback from students, I got a phone call from my best friend and she goes, Logan, they put your sign in yesterday. And she goes, I am just watching people look at that sign over and over and over. And so that's the only sort of feedback that I've gotten since then in terms of that. So people are seeing it. Plants have been put in the ground or are going to. Another round of it. And it's an experiment. This is not a really clear objective. It's not written in the master plan for the university. But it's a shot. It's a shot at bringing back butterflies into spaces, into green spaces, and kind of getting motivated as to what I can do as an individual and inspiring other people, inspiring friends, and getting people together. And that was a really big part that wasn't exactly a goal from the sort of proposal that I had, but in the process of it, I'm like, this is just like the epitome. This is nirvana, So, yeah. And there's last thing which I'll say is that I was walking over there about a year ago, and I noticed on one of the milkweeds there was a monarch caterpillars, 2 of them. I mean, big fat ones, just eating away. I'm like, my job is done. You know, my job is done. So if anything else happens, I know that I've done it, and I can walk away knowing that at least I attempted. You know, I think that's at the end of the day, that's what we can do, is just attempt. So yeah, any other questions? All righty. Thank you so much for having me. Okay, okay. Okay. Sure. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, and let me ask, anybody on the chat have any questions, anything that they'd like to add? Oh. Okay, not a problem. Let me go ahead and go back to account, because that is a pretty big, and I apologize, there's a lot going on here in this presentation. There's accounts and a lot of stuff. Yeah, we have that's fantastic. So let me go ahead and kind of walk through how a count is done. And if anybody, you know, has done a count and I'm missing something because it's been quite a while. So in terms of the count, what you do is that you essentially establish a group of people. And what you want to do is that you want to walk, what we did in this case, is that walk from the edge of the center. So on the north side of the center, and then just work your way back. Just work your way back and just count what you see. And if you're gonna, you know, you're gonna see duplicates. I know that you're gonna see 3 monarchs with you, or there's really 4, there's really 2. But you kind of have to work with what you've got. And so you kind of want to work in a direction. Now, the circle, the radius is much bigger than what we did. You know, it's basically the entirety of mission. However, you know, what we did was that we did the center. And so you kind of work your way back and just count and kind of keep a tally on what you see, whether that be, you know, chrysalises, caterpillars, species which you see. And in terms of that, yeah, then I compiled all of the data. So everybody had a sheet of paper, had a checklist, and then they marked what they saw. And so I gathered however many there were and compiled that into one master list and did that and made sure that I had everything right. And then you have to measure the weather. You have to measure the general outlook of the count. And then you've got to just make sure that everything is kind of in place. And then you kind of get the numbers. And then you can associate that with the other years. And I will tell you that that was a really tricky part, was being able to combine and mesh with all of the years previously and figuring out data trends. And that took hours, because you have to understand that it's like you have to measure 4 years, you have to count each individual species, and then do that over and over and over again with the myriad of species that we have. So that was a really taxing part of what that work was. And we did it twice. You know, we had, I believe on the second time, let's see here. On the second time, we had some folks from, I believe, Washington State who were there, who were just visiting and just, you know, wanted to help out in terms of the count. So we had people from all over too. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the basics of a count. There's more to it, but it's kind of, that's the basic gist of it. Yes, sir.
Most of the people in here, or a lot of us, are birders besides that. And the butterfly counts were a direct duplication, as they were started by Jeff Glasberg and NABA, of the Christmas bird counts. A 15-mile diameter circle. They were originally called the 4th of July counts, as opposed to Christmas bird counts, but they flexed the times for, where it was good in Arizona or where it was good here, away from the 4th of July. And there was some of that incorporated in here. I mean, we did not count first time, I counted the center.
Okay.
We went somewhere else within that 15-mile diameter
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
And brought in data beyond the butterfly center, because there was plenty of coverage at the center itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, they're a direct file of the direct knockoff of the Christmas
Circle
bird.
and that each group person got a section that they had.
Yeah.
So that same people weren't, or different people weren't counting the same.
Yeah, exactly. And it's difficult, right? You have to be really involved or really want to do it, because sometimes it's easy to get distracted and kind of go off, but it is a wide circle. It's a really wide circle to sort of navigate. But it's unique. I will say that the count is, I mean, a lot of people would want to be in that count because it's just a unique area, and we saw some pretty unique things, but I will say that it was different because of the freeze. The freeze had happened in February of 2021. This was in July. So it was right after. So this was the first population marker of what went wrong, what's been affected, what's strong, what's coming back. So that was a really that was the first metric done post freeze, because that freeze was bad.
Only involved that year, or you continue to be involved every year with the butterfly count?
So that was the first, those two were the only ones which I'd done. I was in school around that time and just didn't work out, but I would want to do it. Yeah. Any other questions about the workings of a?
You gotta come up with more questions if you want your 1 hour meeting.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, sir.
Quarters, you wanna be happy with 3/4?
Yeah.
Well, here's the
Yeah.
question.
So, for the butterfly garden, you have to have the plants, you have to have, the place to plant them and the water and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what about lighting? Did the lighting on campus affect the garden?
Well, I originally wanted to put lighting in and they told me no. So, there's lighting there. But I don't have the metrics or the sort of understanding on how that really played in. I mean, I kind of watched it and we had some vitex trees in there. And the vitex did really well. I know that they're not as prolific as a mistflower, for example, or a lantana, but they attracted, and they were already there. There were already two of them, really, really big spaces in there. Yeah. So I'm not too sure about lighting.
Well, we see spaces during the day, but the insects are there at night too. So the lighting affects the habitat. So it's is there like a consideration for the garden, not just the stuff that's there during the day?
Sure. Yeah, that's a pretty good question. I need to, that's a whole other thing. To look into, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're a pretty interesting young man. Your distinctions yet?
Honestly, in terms of this work, I really see it as more of a, there's too much to do in this sort of life, which I want to do. I don't know in terms of a full career, but I definitely will be doing this over and over and over again, and finding more opportunities and inspiring other people and getting my neighbors to put in a lantana and some milkweed and watch it go. But in terms of a career, I don't know. I think my schooling and I don't know. I think I'm not too sure exactly, but yeah, yes.
Are you aware of whether, I'm sure there is a mothing count that probably is administered somewhere, but are you aware when the Butterfly Center does any kind of regular mothing camp on certain evenings of every year?
No, but just,
I would know if they did one, but, they have, every once in a while, they'll do one long night for the Butterfly Festival. That's usually it. Last year, they did have a mothing festival, which was the first time, in our area. I don't know whether it was successful enough to do it again this year. The people in charge of it were hopeful, but, there's been a lot of change over there lately, so I don't have a clue. But as far as the count, regular count, I'm pretty sure there's not one.
Okay, I guess you're gonna have to settle for 0.75.
We all need to have to wear creating masks.
Okay.
And you just need to talk about birds for.
We did that last month, right? Pardon? Oh, okay, yeah, you wanna take a break, have a cookie, take a break, it's not part of your ET though, but you can have a cookie.
Now we'll discuss pollinator gardens in 10 minutes.
We'll discuss pollinator gardens for 10 minutes. Hey, Robert could tell us about the garden out here at St. George. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Well, okay, take a break, but look, you didn't get an hour's worth yet of AT.
Yeah, but we can get the volunteer time. I'll stretch my presentation.
He's sort of gonna hurt that.
Yeah, we can.
We'll make it up.
Yeah, well, I got people that are trying to get certified and they need all the AT they can get. All right, we'll take a 5-minute break. 10-minute. Okay, did you have your cookies? You're all set with your cookies so we can get started? Okay, the first thing is the treasurer's report, which Gail couldn't be here tonight, but she sent her financial report to us, which. What's that?
You were too close to the speaker. Yeah.
I thought it was a bird.
What kind of bird?
Look at that.
Let's see.
Exactly.
Which one you want? She's got a budget report and a financial report.
We'll do financial. And then we'll go to.
Okay, right here. There we go.
Okay, membership and dues with Kathy's prodding and phone calls. We got $175 came in. The auction, we finally got the money from the state meeting, $875. Home and Garden Show, $2,155. That was what, I got Robert, he's gonna give we'll hear more on that. He's gonna give a report on that. And, let me see, the pollinator garden donation, $50. Total income, $32,5570. Expenses, operating expenses, $272. Probably some of this is, rent for this room. New class expenses, that's entrance fee for different parks when we go to them. Snack money, t-shirts, name pins, graduation certificates and pins, award pins. Robert hadn't put an order in 5 years. We've been working off those pins, so she's got another order put in for 5 more years. So these are all our hourly pins and that sort of thing that we get from this. No, that's not. The state would get them free. These were our chapter pins. Total expense, $1,609.92. Our ending balance, $17,616.55. Okay,
And what are we
Yes.
gonna do with $17,000?
Great question.
We've been talking
Well-
about.
yeah, talking about projects, that's, if you have suggestions, so you want to put to the board,
I mean, that's uncommitted, there's no future expenses that we expect that we need to reserve for or anything. That's
No.
just free and clear.
I could use a new.
We shouldn't be sitting, we should not be sitting on that much money.
no.
We make,
Well, if we could ask the membership to think of some ideas and present it to the board, Robert?
Should, well, and this, again, we'll bring it up to the board, but we have to start up something, an idea has come up that, we could use this for scholarships, for instance, of young kids that are majoring in stuff that related to what our goal.
Of nature, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
a lot of that, the reason we have so much is because,
Maybe a committee going to see how we can start that up.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Would you want to say,
you
Joseph?
know, the reason for a lot of how we have so much is we weren't paying rent for our meetings for several years of COVID. We weren't having projects. There's just nothing, we kept having income of dues, but we weren't spending any of it. And it just kept adding up.
What was the budget for Danny Cook?
I think it was like 200, oh, you mean?
Like, how
Thousands, it was thousands.
much money was that project? 6,000?
Oh, gosh, yeah, more than, over the years. Yeah, gosh, I'm hesitant to say Jennifer without looking at.
I mean, I know it was thousands.
It
So
was-
we
it
have
was-
this
it
money.
was over
Five.
that.
The board
5,000.
discussed several projects, so
Yeah, it was-
we just need to get working on them. Like you said, we shouldn't sit on the money.
It was over 20,000.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
So 20,000 for that
Yeah, and
project.
that's without ongoing.
We have to have projects, but then we have to have people who will take the lead on those projects also and follow it through. So if you got an idea here in this room or out there, write something up, present it to the board.
Logan, how about a butterfly garden somewhere?
But you know what they say, you think it, you do it, so think about that too.
Melanie, look at that.
Okay, minutes of the last meeting, I sent those out. Was there any changes anybody wanted to make on that? Okay, then will the minutes stand approved and will be filed. Okay, committee, officer and committee reports.
Do we want to look at the budget at all or not? This is the expense report, but we didn't look at the budget.
Yeah, but the only problem I have with this, okay. Annual budget, month to date actual, what we've spent, year to date actual. This is her budget. I don't know if you can understand it. I'm not a money person. Silent auction, annual budget, 500, 775. We didn't have to put any money out. That was our income on that state. Never mind. Wait till next month and she can explain it all to us. How about that?
Two things.
What?
Total revenue budget is 8350, and what's the total expenses budgeted? Joseph, you got to scroll down a little bit. There. Total expenses, 2,300. So we're bringing in much more than we're spending, the way I'm seeing it, budgeted wise. So can we take on new projects? Yeah.
Where's the total for the new class? The,
Oh, okay, there you go. All right, that's better. Oh, it's just he's matched them.
yeah, it's that.
All right. Never mind.
But we do collect money for projects, which is great because for Vanny Cook, we had to take time to do the fundraising. So we're well placed.
And we had to look for donations from groups too for that project. Okay. All right. So now we're on to Robert and giving the results of the Home and Garden Show, how it went. Any issues, things we need to change for next year? You can talk about that.
Well, actually, the Home Guard show.
Can you do it with the microphone?
Yeah, Robert, can we get you to talk with the microphone?
I'll
You don't
come
have
to
come
you.
up.
Sit down, I'll come to
You
you.
just use the mic.
Yeah, we got about 20 people online.
Sorry. And so, yeah, our return from COVID started out pretty slow at the beginning. The first year back, 2020, 2022, I believe it was, yeah. We had maybe 5 or 10 volunteers. We had no plants. I think we had 10 plants altogether. We did get the message across to the attendees as far as, using native plants, which is the main objective, to get native plants in the gardens. So we got that across, and also we recruited some new members. Some of y'all that are here might have been part of that. That was 2022. 23 got a little bit better last year. We did have several volunteers that came and helped, probably 20 or 22, somewhere around that area. And we got, again, our goal was to get people to use native plants in the gardens, the benefits of using native plants to attract pollinators. And that we sold $1,287 worth of plants. Okay. This year we had a total of 14 people who donated plants from their gardens. We had 3 people who did presentations: Anita Westerveld, Jaime Rodriguez, one of our class members from this year, and of course, Jennifer Rector. And the difference from last year is last year our presenters presented a little tiny stage in the corner where people were just all over the place, and not many people showed up to or sat down to listen to the presenters. This year was different. We got a stage, we got an auditorium style, seating, and we could sit more people, accommodate more people for this presenters. And so they had maybe 30 to 40 people in some cases that came in to listen. So that was great. We also had 27 volunteers that helped us throughout the 3 days, and of course, setting up and taking down. So that was really, really spectacular because more people are getting involved, and that's what we need. This year, on March 22nd, which was Thursday, we had a total of $504 of plants sold. And that's from the donations. And I'm trying to think of the name of it. It used to be La Maceta Nursery. Now it's Huitzochil. Huitzochil is the name of the new name of the nursery. It's run by Raciel Flores, who does the presentation on plant IDs for us. On March 23rd, which was the Saturday, we had $903 cash sales, 294 card sales, and a total of $1,197. That was Saturday, which is really the most active day as far as the 3-day event. And then on Sunday, which is a little bit slow, people go to church, and maybe after church they go over and look around. We had a total of $437 sales for a grand total of $2,148. And I think that's after the $450 more or less that that was part of Raziel's cut as far as the plants. Again, the main goal was and objective is to educate the public about the use of native plants. Okay, so read this out like I wrote in my email, on my final email for the 3-day event. Thank you all for helping out with the project that fulfills the goals of our mission statement of providing education, outreach, and service dedicated to the beneficial management of natural resources within our community. And that's what it's all about. So hopefully next year it will be a whole lot better. Thank you.
Robert, you deserve a round of applause.
Okay, Jennifer, do you want to come up and talk about what you have coming up for us?
Hello, everyone. I hope you will join us next month. Our speaker will be from the East Foundation talking about their ocelot relocation program. It's very exciting. I'm really excited that she's going to come here and talk to us. And then in June, we are going to have a program on foraging in the RGB, so edible plants in our region. I love food, so I'm very excited about that one. And then
So we were talking about projects, and it seems that many of you are interested in pollinator gardens. So one of the things that we talked about at the board planning session and had been mentioned in the chapter before last year is Frontera Audubon in Westaco has an inspiration garden, and it is in disrepair. It has underlying infrastructure that's good, but everything is overgrown. And so this would be a really great project for us to plant as an educational garden for pollinators and anything else that we would like to do. And I had talked to Chris, the director there, and we were supposed to get together in March, and I got sick. So they have Earth Day things this week. They have their spring fundraiser next week. And once they get through that, then we're looking to go out and see if we can get some initial budgeting stuff done so we could see how much that would cost. If you are interested in serving on that committee, please come talk to me because I need lots of help and I don't have all the expertise that all of you have, but I'm very excited about the potential for this project as an ongoing project for our chapter and also to help educate the public about the importance of native plants and for all the beautiful butterflies and insects and birds that are out there.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, Logan, that's how you get involved here. Got another member for your committee. Okay, let me see. Ronnie is not here.
I got a report.
Okay, and he sent a report, which Joseph is going to put up. Okay, it looks like we have 115 members that are recorded in the VMS as active members. 102 currently are active. That means they paid their 2024 dues. 22 members were in the new class. 13 are still in training from 21, 22, and 23 classes. We have 49 unique member logged services, AT hours through 27 different unique service opportunities. That's impressive. 47 unique members logged volunteer hours through 17 unique opportunities. So people are out there getting involved, keeping busy, volunteering. Compare that with 588.5 hours last month. So almost doubled the volunteer hours. So yay for our members. You're getting out there and volunteering. It's great. 32 unique members logged AT hours through 8 unique opportunities. Remember, if you need AT opportunities, go to our state website where it says TMN Tuesday. They've all been recorded. You can only view and count the ones for this year. So there's some there for 2023. You can look at them, but you can't count those for AT. Okay. 113 total hours, training hours, year-to-date impact, 282.25 hours. The March monthly impact data, direct outreach, we reached for this month, I guess it's 674 people, 122 youths. And I would say a lot of that is from Benson, which it says, and so we have people in this room that volunteer at Benson. Dana, Jack, do you put down how many people you talk to when you record your volunteer hours? That's how we get the impact, how many people that you came in contact with and talked to. Yeah, if you talk to them. What, River?
I just want to clarify where that data comes from. It does not come from that sheet at the Nature Center where you write down people's names. No, it comes when you go and report on the VMS. And then you go, yes, you click on this right here and you put yes, and this comes out. What you put here is that. And in order for you to put something here, when you are at Benson, you need to write it down. That's what I do. I keep track of all that as I'm greeting the visitors and all that. Write it down because you're not going to remember it. If you have direct outreach, there's one like this for that too. But this is public outreach, just to clarify.
Okay, so if you go do a booth somewhere start counting the people that you come talk to you, make a little count, this adult, and it goes by female and male child. So I usually put female, F, and then male, and then I put my 1, 2, 3, 4 slash, 1, 2, 3, 4 slash. So when I go and record my hours at the end of the day, I know exactly how many people I talk to, men, women. It also says, different nationalities like white, colored, Mexican, whatever. Then it goes down through the list, and I don't break it up that way. I mean, I think it's enough to count the, yes.
Please tell them also that if they don't get them all, it's okay. Get as many.
Yeah, get as many as you can, or estimate, yes.
Problem, I think, in recording that is we were told that we had to have an account of at least 10 minutes before we wrote it down. But what I'm hearing you say, even if you talk to someone and it's not for a long length of time, you can.
Yeah, you answered a question for them, you talked about the park, gave them a map, talked about a bird. Okay, that was that encounter form that you're talking about, had to be so many minutes and stuff. That was for the state park one. Okay, all right, so we'll see if we can jump that number up. So even if it's a booth and you're talking to people, like Roberta has a booth here and there, she's gonna be talking about one that's coming up, and you work at a booth, put down, you know, how many people you spoke with. Okay, let's see. Awards. Rivers Awards, since Ronnie, we got Ronnie's report. Okay, now we got a sheet for that. Okay, certification. We had some recertification. Mary Lewandowski, she's not here tonight. Maybe she's online. Tom Nix. No. Lori Archambault. And Nancy Newton, she's back up north. Donna Otto's not here. Jaime did not make it. He was in our class. And Dana, or announce your name. You already got, she got her pin, right? We can applaud for her. Dana's here. Robert Hernandez. Robert, you can come up. He got his rattlesnake pin.
Yes.
Everybody's been working hard for that, right? Here, have a look. Have a look. Have a look. Okay, very good. Okay, and where are we? Roberta Allen. This is her 100-hour pin. She had. Oh, I didn't see the. She had to help herself.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Hey, it's okay. Yeah, she doesn't want to complain because she doesn't want to be up here doing it. No. Okay, and Ann Whitney. And she's not here tonight. Okay, we have another slide. 100-hour pin. Nancy Newton, Jaime Rodriguez. They were from this class of 2024, and Roberta Allen. And she got it already. And 250-hour milestone, Bill Rich, but he's not with us tonight. Is that it?
Yep.
That's it. Okay. All right. Thank you, River. Communication. Anita is not here. Is she online?
She may be online. I'm to unmute.
Did you want to check? You got to run to the other computer? Okay.
Anita, if you got anything, you can talk now.
I do not have any report, except Donna needs to really emphasize the CNC. There's only been
I'm gonna do
27
that.
people. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
The CNC.
The City Nature Challenge.
About that, right?
Yep.
When we come up to that, let me see. Okay.
Thanks.
I gotta follow my.
Well, I've got a slide.
He's got his own.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So the City Nature Challenge is a challenge that we've been going for several years. Each year we participate in it. There's been, every year is a little bit more participation, more observations. It starts on April 26th through the 29th. That's the observing time where you go out, photograph all your insects, bugs, birds, everything, fungi, scat, whatever. So then April 30th through the 5th is the uploading time. Of course, you can upload the whole from the beginning, but that's the time where everybody goes through and tries to identify as much as possible. John Brush put together some of these last year in Texas. There were 177 species and 3,697 individuals of species of greatest conservation need in Texas. So that's one of the reasons we do this, is for science, but it's also fun. Adds to global biodiversity knowledge, adds to our own knowledge. The more we do this, the more we learn, more we can share with others. There is, go to the iNaturalist website or app. Wrong direction. Yeah, we mentioned scat, feathers, shells, bones, tracks also count. Check out the local parks, your neighborhood. This one in the corner would make Anita excited, in the cracks. Okay, and John just posted these a few minutes ago and I added them to my slides. He suggested fish and amphibians are underrepresented in our past city nature challenges. So go out and look for those. For me, I obviously go mostly spiders and moths, but I leave the birds to people that know birds. I'm not going to go looking for, I'd end up with a bunch of grackles and sparrows. So that seems like either go what you know or go for some target species. You don't have to do everything, but you can do everything also. Some of the years I just took a picture of everything I could possibly seen, and I wore myself out several years in a row. And even when I've slowed down, I still wear myself out. But I'm gonna, and then he's also suggested these are some of the underrepresented areas. Starr County and Willacy County just don't get very many observations, not only during the City Nature Challenges, but anytime. And there's a lot of unique wildlife out there that we just aren't seeing, that's different from what we find in our areas. So, and then his suggestions on places: La Puerta, Fordyce Nature Hiking Trails. I've never even heard of that one. Roma Bluffs, Salieno, Falcon County Park, Ports Manfield Nature Trail, Fred Stone Park, Sows and Fifth Park, LRGV NWR East Lake, and Lyford City Park. Okay, so this is my observations. We're not going to beat the huge cities, but so I like to look at species. If you look right here, we're only a little bit out of third place in species, about 400 more species, and we jump those much bigger cities. Houston, Galveston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio. So I think that's possible. Then Roberto from the other chapter is managing this page on Facebook, the Logan Rio Grande Valley City Nature Challenge team. He posts interesting stuff they can find, possibly trainings that are coming up. I don't know of any trainings right now. John Brush said he does not have one scheduled. If we get enough interest, Roberto says he could put a virtual one together. Anybody needs a training for iNaturalist, or you guys remember enough?
Donna can also do it.
Okay, so we'll figure something out. And so since we're trying to stretch our little time, Not everything is gonna make it to research grade. There's certain things that just like 60% of what I post is moths and spiders. They're just not enough documentation on them, and some of them need microscopes. So if I get to genus, sometimes that's as good as it's gonna get. And don't automatically suggest, if somebody puts an ID and you're not real sure, you don't have to automatically agree to it. Let some other person agree that knows what they're doing. Make sure you're more likely to get a right answer. And of course, you can disagree if you don't think they're right, and sometimes they're not. I've had plant experts ID stuff that I knew was wrong, but they're going fast because when everybody's doing this, the ID people are doing thousands a day. Tips for better photos: get shots of the leaves, the flowers, the fruit, not just one. Try and get all of them, maybe in multiple shots. Take the front and back of a bug. Crop your shots or get close. A tiny little shot of something in the center is going to get overlooked by the identifiers because they're looking for quick and easy. Don't make it hard on them. And also maybe a scale, your ruler, or a finger, coin. That was a little blind snake. So there's the dates again. And if you guys can plan things, go out with friends, more fun to do it together. I've done it several times, hung out at Seth's Oleander Acres, and sometimes I'm out there at 4 a.m. and I go crazy looking at moths and just wandering in the garden and get carried away. That's why my legs don't work very much after that. All right, that's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Joseph. And we had challenged our students to make 10 observations during that time. If they could just take 10 pictures of something in nature and download it on the iNaturalist. And I challenge all of you to do the same thing. So if everyone in our chapter just did 10 observations, which that's easy to do. Dana, we're going to Salinino. They said that one was underrepresented. We're going there. Okay, what do we have now? Judy Perkins. I have to read her. I couldn't turn my phone off and I was hoping nobody called because she sent me her report, but I have to read it to you. Okay. She said she's going to be working on an email this week to communicate AT opportunities that will be available in May. Please let her know ASAP if you know of any special activities that are going on. Judy regularly checks the websites for multiple state parks, Quinta Mazatlan, Edinburgh Wetlands, Laguna Atascosa, South Texas Coast Tourism Center, South Padre Birding and Alligator Sanctuary. She also posts information on TMN Tuesday. And Judy thanks you for any help that you can provide her in finding opportunities. She said April 20th, there's a field trip to Ramsey Park, 8 to 10 a.m. If you have not done so, please send Judy your name and phone number if you plan to attend. She is keeping a list and thank those who have responded to date. Should be an excellent outing.
And that field trip is led by Barbara Pete from the other chapter.
Yep, Barbara Pete, and she knows native plants, so that's what she will be concentrating on when she does her walk. River, volunteer service projects.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the Great Texas Birding Classic that's coming up. That involves being on a team. And if you're not on a team yet, I don't know that you can get on one anymore. But if you're interested, you can always, kind of ask about it anyway. And then you can get on a team next year. That's going to be happening. There's a window from April 15th today until May 15th, but each team picks a day, and I believe here the Butterfly Center has picked April the 28th.
They changed.
Oh, he changed it?
Maybe it went the other way around. It was gonna be May, but now it's 28.
I know he was waiting on Ryan.
He had some employees that couldn't do that date.
Okay. Okay, so that's the Great Texas Birding Classic. There's, on the 18th, there's an event at Estero Rio Grande, but I believe that Becky has all the volunteers that she needs. Then on the 20th, we have the Butterfly Center is going to have Earth Day, which Roberta's going to speak on that in a little bit. Then we have the City Nature Challenge, 26th through 29th, that you just heard Joseph speak on. I'm so glad I have that help from y'all. I don't have to say too much. Then we have some field research opportunities, citizen science. We have the Texas Raptor Monitoring Network. And there was an email sent out on the 10th of April about this. So you can look at that. But what it involves is that you need to watch the TMN Tuesday video for this and download their app. And then you can be making observations. As a matter of fact, one of our members just told me today that she's already made one. So that's great, Melissa. Thank you. And then we have the Adopt a Loop, which is ongoing. We actually have 2 loops. We have Los Ebanos Loop, which Ellie Kidd is heading, and she just took that on. And so I know that Janie McGee and Anita Westervelt and I are committed to going to 1 or 2 or 3 of these sites. So if anybody else wants to go to these sites, you can go to the email that was sent on March the 29th and take a look at the different sites that are there. The other loop is Estero Llano Loop, which Donna Otto is at, and we've had that loop longer. We just took on Los Ebanos Loop. So Donna, if y'all want to do something with that loop, you can contact Donna. That information is also on the same email that was sent out on the 29th of March. Then we have the BAT Acoustic Monitoring Project that Ellie Kidd is heading also. And she wanted me to tell you that if any of you are interested in the monitoring project, to sign up via the link on the TMN Tuesday webpage. Anyone who has property and may like a monitor on their property, to please let her know. And these monitors are going to go up on Mondays and come down on Fridays and then go to a new location. So I'm going to give you my number. If you want information about this, text me and I will get you Ellie's email and phone number. So my phone number is 956-212-2768. Okay. And let's see, let me see if I didn't miss anything. No. And if y'all have noticed, we've had a lot of stuff going on in the first half of the month. There was a lot of volunteer opportunities. So thank you all for your time volunteering. Volunteers rock.
Volunteers rock. Judy Perkins. Oh, I read hers already. Okay, River. Sorry about that. Do you want to talk about the outreach at the Butterfly? Talk about your.
Yes, she usually does.
Roberta Allen is our outreach person and she does booths at different events. So she has something coming up.
Yes, as it shows on the screen for Earth Day down at the National Butterfly Center, we will actually have a table set up. The celebration is from 9 to 2, but I'm going to be there at 8:30. It is on this Saturday. If anybody would like to volunteer, I need 3 volunteers. They'll be for 2.5 hours apiece, if possible. If not, I can work with any of the volunteers. But you do need to bring your own chair if you'd like to sit down.
They won't provide it. Most of the time they provide a table and 2 chairs.
They usually have chairs, but it's never enough.
Yeah,
They run
they asked me if I wanted a table. I said, yes, I need a table. Mm-mm.
Usually provide 2.
No, I asked and I said, I already have mine in the trunk.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you.
Okay, thank you, Roberta. Yes, River?
Please add that there are other volunteer opportunities besides our booth. If they want to volunteer that day, they can call Stephanie at the Butterfly.
Okay, River's saying if you want to volunteer that day at Earth Day celebration at the Butterfly Center, call Stephanie at the Butterfly Center and let her know if you want to volunteer, if you want some volunteer hours. And so she needs tonight 3 people. So please help her out. Okay, look, we got 2 volunteers right here. She needs 3 people. Okay, Logan, he's gonna sign up too. Okay, she's got her 3. Very good. You couldn't leave. We got the door locked, and unless we got 3 volunteers, you couldn't get out. Okay, so it's all right now. We can unlock the door. Jim. Okay, Jim's gonna talk to us about class of 2024 and maybe a little bit about graduation.
Thank you. I continue to learn from the great people here. And I've learned that I should be putting slides together for this talk, which I have never done, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't do it, right? Anyway, I didn't put any slides together, but I'll talk to you anyway. We had 2 major goals for our class this year, really. One of them was to graduate more people percentage-wise. And the second one is to get more people involved in the chapter and volunteering. Graduation was last week, Thursday. It was a great event for those who were able to attend. Excellent food, great cake, and a great time, really, for everyone that was there. John did his Volunteers Rock talk, which is fabulous, as you know, many of you have heard that. The good news is we graduated 21 people out of the 22 from the class. That's 95%. Yes, volunteers rock. That was really quite an achievement. I don't know that we're going to do better than that. So on Ronnie's report, he's going to add 1 person that still needs to get a little more hours in to be able to finish the graduation. So there'll be 1 more trainee on that report. I want to thank all the people that helped the education committee, the people that helped all the way along. You guys make this really work. And I have never worked in an organization where I feel the power of the volunteers and coming together continually. People that are even behind the scenes are constantly doing stuff. Jennifer couldn't make graduation, but she did so many things for us to help us get ready for that. Robert, I didn't even expect him to come, and he was there doing his usual thing, supporting us, putting the slideshow together. Sorry, I do that. I'm sorry. Joseph. Robert, of course, is always there. I don't know why Joseph and Robert it's my brain. Anyway, thank you all. And Ann, of course, always there to fill in whenever it's needed. I mean, this group, the volunteerism is just amazing. And the support is just River constantly in the background, making sure all the hours are in and contacting the mentors and, Kathy constantly working with her. I mean, all of this comes together really for the education committee, and I'm very, very grateful. So thank you all for that support. Congratulations to trainees, and I'm not done yet, Ann. Secondly, I wanted to share the state education, the state organization hired a person to help coordinate the educational activities. And one of the things they want to do is they want to revise the textbook. And so they've put together this extensive survey that's going to take me weeks to fill out. Well, I'm going to get Ann's help probably. But they got us all together on a virtual call to discuss, and they want about the survey. Oh, that was okay. It's pretty dry stuff. But what happened that was really interesting is the chat and all the educational directors talking about things that they run into and they're interested in and so on. That was fabulous, actually. For example, we shared a lot of information, all of us did. You know, how do other chapters help people who need to make up classes? There is all kinds of things that people are doing. I never thought about even. How do other chapters work to engage their students? They do some pretty cool stuff that we need to think about, perhaps spending some of our money to incorporate, to engage our students from the very beginning. What they do if a speaker doesn't show up. They had all kinds of ideas of how they handle that situation, right? So, I mean, this is just a few examples of what was discussed, things that we as educational directors struggle with all the time. That was really beautiful. So I tried to say, look, we need to do this quarterly. Just get us educational directors together and let us chat and share ideas. Heck with the survey. I mean, we'll do that. But anyway, that was a very valuable thing. So, and that concludes my report.
You know, when you call him a different name, I always say, your brain, you probably all have this, the brain thinks one thing, but the mouth says something else.
It does. I'm looking right at you. Yeah.
Okay, Kathy, do you want to give us a report on your membership project?
Thanks, Ann. Thank you all. Well, we all have something in common. Number one, we like to volunteer, but most importantly, we're big into nature, whether it's an ant or a worm, flowers, birds, you name it. And that's why we took the time and trouble to complete the training, get certified, and stay active. I did some research over the last couple of weeks because Ann was needing more inspiration. And I went back to 2012 when the first class started. That's when I was still with the RGV. But we've got data that goes all the way back then to see of the people that started out going back to 2012, how many are active today? How many people were in the class? How many have moved out of the state or died? Or how about that whole group that never certified, let alone recertified, and now they're totally inactive? I felt kind of sad when I saw that number because it was huge. Let me give you just some figures for the fun of it. Since we've started tracking classes since 2012, 410 people have signed up for the program. But today, we only have 102 of those folks still actively participating. Sure, we've lost about 18 of them that no longer can help us out. But the shocking number was that those that didn't even get through the program after the basic training class, that represents 32%. That's a huge number. So I went to see how that affected old days versus today. Our best one was the class of 2013. 50% of those people are still active today, and most of them certified. And then the numbers, of course, dipped during COVID. We had some dramatic downturns there, and it was very sad. But since that time, starting in 22 and going forward, we're bumping close to 40% active. So we're coming out of that high teen number, which is great. So my challenge is I reach out to people, I call them, text them, email them. I say, hey, there's a spark in you that said, I want to become a Texas Master Naturalist and learn more about this great area called the Rio Grande Valley and even planet Earth. So let's find a little bit of time in your life. I know we're all busy raising families and working and eating and sleeping, but if that's your passion, relight it and get out there. It's only 40 hours to volunteer. Heck, you can do that in a couple months. Look at Ann. She's pushing for her, what, 10,000 pin already? So that's my update. Ann will get more of these details later, but I thought it was quite interesting. So if you run into people that say, oh yeah, I used to be a naturalist, ask them, well, why don't you become active again? Come on. Or retake the training if you didn't finish the classes. You'd be amazed at some of the new information we're getting from people. Just like you take a refresher course for all your continuing ed out there. Stay on top of it. So thank you.
And Ellie's not here, but somebody spoke about the back project that she's working on. Birthday, Joseph. Well, I think that concludes our general meeting. If anybody has anything else, I think we've gone through all the committee reports and talked about all the things coming up. You probably got all emails on that, so. Okay, see if there's anything on the chat. Yeah. Yes, John.
I've been involved with volunteer type organizations for a lot of years. And I think if you could see a broad range of statistics, like we just heard, a 25% retention over 12 years or so is pretty darn good. I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of at all.
You have the people that passed away, the people have moved out of the area.
Just keeping people involved over a longer term. And I think that's probably better than average for organizations.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Anything else?
I have something to say.
Okay.
Hello? You guys hear me?
Know who's talking to us.
Ellie.
Okay, Ellie, go ahead. We're listening.
All right. I just wanted to say with the BAT project, we have monitors. We have a couple of places to put some, but we need more places to put the monitors up. You do not have to be a member of the BAT team to be have property to have a monitor on it. I put my contact information in the chat feature, and we just need some sites to put this information in, and then we'll know what bats are out there. The stuff that we've been getting has been coming very quickly. Like they will say, okay, we have training Tuesday night, and you know, it's only a couple days away. We do have training Thursday for setting up the monitors. If anybody is interested, let me know. But everything's coming fast and quick. I am in contact with people from the Lower Rio Grande Valley National Wildlife Refuge and also Esterolano to maybe put monitors in those locations, but we need more people. So give me a shout out if you would like a monitor, and we'll hook you up.
Okay, so if you have property where they can put a bat monitor on for a few days and then they'd come and get it, contact Ellie, because she said she's looking for more places to put the bat monitors up. Pardon, her email. She put it in the chat, but for the people that are here in the room.
It's EK31773@gmail.com.
Okay, did you get that? Okay, all right. Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I guess that concludes our meeting. Did you get it all, Velma? She said, anything you need repeated or? Okay, very good. I mean, you're great. We appreciate it. She's typing away as fast as she can, and she told me to slow down. I told her if I went too fast, tell Zeke to make some signs in the back of the room. I didn't see anything, so I guess it was okay. Our next board meeting will be May 6th, and our next general meeting, May 20th. So that is the end of our meeting at 8:22. What do you got, River? Okay, I guess we're gonna report 0.75 for AT and 1 hour for volunteer for the meeting. Okay. Since. And then add your travel to the volunteer. So coming to the meeting, your travel time to the meeting, the 1 hour for the meeting, and the travel time home. You add all that up for your volunteer time. Okay, thank you and good night to all the people who are listening online. We appreciate you joining us and good night.